Hello, everyone. Welcome to In Case You Missed It. My name is Larrison Manygoats. Our first story today is about what some may call justice unserved. Some litigants in Collin County, Texas reached out to us alleging that the family court system is failing them. Luckily, a new nonprofit organization is saying they're going to tackle that issue. Let's take a look. A Texas nonprofit is making sure judges will be held accountable for misconduct.
We feel that we need accountability in all areas, but especially our judges. And we have a lot of judges where you're not going to have a complaint. We have a lot of judges who are good, honest people. So that's not what I'm talking about, but we have a lot of judges who are not.
Jennifer Lundy is the executive director of the Texans for Judicial Accountability, or TJA.
I was a court reporter in another state, and then I worked for the Senate, for two different senators here.
She says the organization advocates for the court system transparency and reforming the State Commission on Judicial Conduct.
You file complaints with the State Commission on Judicial Conduct whenever you have a complaint about a judge. They've had 27,000 complaints in the last 20 years, and only 212 of those have been published. That's less than 1%.
Jennifer says there are only 15 members in the commission, which serves the entire state of Texas. They are appointed by elected officials, including Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
We want it all to be open. We want you to be able to see every complaint. We want the number of staff members for the SCJC to go up, and we want the commissioners to be public. That's our primary goal.
The TJA also helps bring to light the stories of litigants who filed complaints against judges. Many of the cases are reportedly about family courts.
Let's say, for example, the criminal court judges. Those judges have to put out the law. They have to give absolute disclosure of the laws they're following. Family court doesn't have to do that.
Among the litigants fighting for their own justice is Scott Wedge. This Texas dad and combat veteran has been in the middle of a complicated divorce and custody battle. He's been trying to get his well-deserved time with his son.
I had taken over as a primary parent and had been for 5.5 years until last September when the judge ruled 50-50 from the moment he came out. And I was helping him, cutting the umbilical cord to taking the handprints and the footprints. And I remember the way he looked at me with this questioning look, like, what is going on? And I told him, no matter what happens in life, you'll always be my best friend. I'll always be around.
He says his now 6-year-old son is coping with quite a different life, one without his dad always by his side.
So I love him, and I love spending every moment with him, but I know the impact on him. I'm an adult, I can handle separation, but my concern is in his growth and development in the long-term lasting impact.
Scott is doing above and beyond to make sure his son is thriving.
As I had to take a job at Cub Scouts, a volunteer position that is probably the worst, probably the hardest to do. And I did that so I would have the ability to dictate when some of those activities would happen so our son could attend those as it's something he loves.
The divorce and custody battle have taken a toll on all aspects of Scott's life.
I wasn't asking for millions of dollars. I just wanted enough to, obviously take care of my debt, have enough for my son and I to go on. But instead, what has happened is I have absolutely nothing. My ex now has all the money and has the money for lawyers. There's still false accusations happening all the time.
Scott says the judge allegedly ignored most of his evidence and was more biased toward his ex-wife.
The judge flat out said she didn't care how much debt that I had, and she was going to give me a very small amount that still left me heavily in debt that I would never get out. It was clear during those 4 hearings throughout the year that she did not want to hear a full new trial.
Scott's case is under Judge Lindsey Wynn, the 468th District Court in Collin County, Texas. Together with him, many litigants under Judge Wynn are accusing Wynn of making biased ruling and ignoring evidence. Some of them tell NTD they don't want to speak out because they fear retaliation.
And I'm worried about speaking out today that it's going to ultimately result very quickly in minimal, even less time than it is now with our son. My hope in speaking here today that it will give a voice and justice to others, boys, girls, other parents.
They can't complain about her like I can. Is if they have children in the divorce, she controls the access to those children. So, of course, those litigants are going to be less likely to want to speak out against her. But I'm speaking out against her. I created a website that's voteagainstjudgewin.com.
Sherry Alexander's divorce case is also ruled by Judge Wynn. She accused Wynn of dismissing her premarital financial agreement as well as other evidence.
My case involves a premarital agreement, which was primarily protect my separate property business that I had long before I married this man. I have all these provisions in the premarital agreement that says that he promises to hold my separate property harmless and to indemnify me against his obligations, and she ruled every single one of them as invalid.
Sherry's calling on the public to impeach and vote against Judge Wynn. She says people should not simply vote along party lines. NTD has contacted Judge Lindsay Wynn's office but have not received a response.
And what I'm doing is I'm hoping that somebody runs against her. Anybody that's willing to uphold the law, I will vote for that person.
You know, in Texas, it's such a down ballot race, and they do run as Democrat and Republican. So someone's most likely just going to vote based upon D or R, based upon what affiliation you are.
Jeff Morgan is a parental rights advocate who has been ensuring transparency in the family court system. He attends hearings as a court watcher and interviews victims of judicial misconduct on his YouTube channel.
So I've spent a lot of hours actually observing the court since COVID took place, probably over 200 hearings in person, virtually, on YouTube, whatever. I know that there's court corruption all over the place, so I started to actually watch it recorded.
Jeff says litigants like Scott and Sherry would have to take risks and lose more money in order to appeal rulings.
That if they dare question a judge, they have to fear retaliation. But I've had many people that I've talked with that have told me of a lot of injustices, due process violations, not being able to submit evidence.
And then you'll have to fight it and take it to appeal and try to get it reversed and overturned. And then after that happens, you'll get remanded back to the same judge that put you in that position in the first place.
I go back into court for enforcement. I'm going to be dealing with the same thing I've dealt with all year. Canceled hearings, delayed hearings. I mean, it's frequent. I waited up to 7 hours in her court.
According to Jeff and Jennifer, the 468 district is only one among many that are facing scrutiny.
When we cannot trust 1/3 of our government, and that's not even talking about the other part, but when we cannot trust them, something is very wrong here. And I hear reports of this again and again. This happens throughout our state. We have a very big problem.
We want these judges to know that we are watching and they are not going to be reelected if they continue down the path that they are. And when you have a case that you know that the judge is just ruling because it's the way he wants to rule and not because it's the law, we want you to file a complaint, and we want to get your complaint and your case. We would like to be able to publish it.
Although there's no official evidence, the litigants' stories show us that many innocent lives could be forever changed by the judge's rulings. Biased or not, advocates say as more people are speaking out, they look forward to more transparency and accountability in the Texas judicial system.